So Governor Lombardo mentioned there should be more mechanisms in place to secure voter confidence, and proponents of the Save America Act say it will do just that by keeping non-citizens from voting. President Trump is a strong supporter of the Save America Act and right now says he will not sign any legislation until Congress passes it. The House passed the bill last month, but it's stuck in the Senate, where Republican leadership says there aren't enough votes to get it through.
If it became law, the Save America Act would impact people who are registering to vote in a federal election by requiring them to provide documentary proof of United States citizenship. The bill lists several documents that people can use, including a passport or birth certificate. But according to research from the Brennan Center for Justice, more than 21 million Americans lack ready access to those documents, and roughly half of Americans don't even have a passport. Sandra Cosgrove is a history professor at the College of Southern Nevada.
So if you fall into the category that you have to prove your citizenship, you're going to have a certified copy of your birth certificate. If your name that's on your ID does not match the name that's on your birth certificate, which happens because you get married or you get divorced, then you also need to have a certified copy of your marriage license or from your divorce decree. And so there are going to be a lot of women, especially, who are going to be negatively impacted if this was to pass, because they're going to have to make sure that either their birth certificate gets changed or they get their birth certificate and their marriage license and divorce decree. There's just a lot of burden on them to get the documentation needed to prove citizenship.
That burden is causing some people to panic. Cosgrove says she sees concerns all over social media and says politicians are helping fuel the fire.
Because both of the political parties try to scare people to get them to turn out to vote, or more likely to give them money. And so you get text messages saying, being afraid, be upset, be angry, I'm going to push your buttons, and then I want you to give us some money. They need to knock that off. You're terrifying people. Stop it.
And to those who are worried about the Save America Act, she has this message.
To calm down, take a breath, for a number of reasons. If you're following along the national news about the SAVE Act, it is now saying it passed the House of Representatives, but most likely will not make it through the Senate because of the filibuster. So the Democrats have already come out and said they will filibuster, and if they filibuster, it requires 60 votes to pass. There's not 60 votes there. So while we need to have conversations about why would anybody even propose this when it's not a real problem, we don't have non-citizens voting, why would you do this? So we need to be talking to folks that are running for election this cycle about, did you support this and why? But not panicking about this election cycle because it's not going to pass.
Okay, so when Sandra Cosgrove says that non-citizens are not voting, there are people out there who will point to a recent case from the Department of Homeland Security. They report arresting a criminal illegal alien who voted in 7 federal elections since 2008. So it happens, but your argument is it's not widespread?
It's not.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, Nevada runs some of the safest, most secure and accessible elections in the country. And we will continue to improve upon our systems and our processes to make sure we are catching people who should not be registered to vote. You know, we work diligently with the DMV. The DMV is diligent about making sure that people are registered to vote through the automatic voter registration process are the citizens that are qualified to vote.
Okay.
And then there is a review process too by the local county clerks to make sure that the people they are registering are qualified to vote.
It's important, I think, for the Save America Act to again repeat that this would impact people registering to vote.
Correct.
Not people who are already registered
Well,
to
there's
vote.
some discussion about too making re-verification a process. Again, they want people who are registering to vote to verify in person. We do have a verification of identity during the registration process. People have to prove identity of who they are in order to register to vote in Nevada.
There is also a request from the president that the Save America Act be changed in order to rule out mail ballots. Your thoughts on that? Isn't that where this all kind of stemmed from, the allegations of voter fraud? People
Yes.
can mail in ballots?
It's really interesting because Nevadans have chosen mail ballots as their preferred choice of voting. 52% of Nevadans participated in our election in '24 through mail ballot. Nye County and Douglas County, some of our reddest counties, are the highest adopters of mail ballots. This is about accessibility. This is not about a party. Because some people in Nevada live in extremely rural areas, and they would have to drive hours to participate in the process. Also, it impacts our tribal communities. And our tribal communities deserve to have a voice just as every other person does in our state.
What is the process for verifying that you are getting a mail ballot from the person that is listed on there with their signature?
There's lots of controls in place. One is the signature is a big part of it. We have access to the DMV signature on the ID. We have access to the voter registration signature. We have access to the signature used in past elections. There is a verification process that is scanned, and then if it is rejected, it goes to a bipartisan review. And if it's rejected by that bipartisan review, it goes into a signature cure issue, which was an issue in '24 among our younger voters, because our younger voters traditionally don't have a signature. And there are ways to verify this process where person has to prove that it is their actual ballot. People talk about double votes. Yes, we do have those, but it's a really unique situation because when you have a father and son with the same name, the father decides to vote in person, the son is in a hurry, he votes his father's mail ballot, the system catches it and flags it immediately, and it is clarified. So there are checks and balances. The system does work as intended to make sure that the mail ballot is connected to the correct voter.